Good day, and it's really a pleasure to be as part of this SRC conference. I'm really excited to really share with you some of the principles that have enabled our clients and my businesses as well to really thrive over the last 20 odd years. And so it's been a pleasure to be with you. We're going to go through this incredibly quickly. So much to pack in. And I appreciate that it may be a little difficult to keep up, but please make some notes even now as I speak. Get a pen and paper, jot down some things. In fact, also, if you want to ask some questions, that you can just jot that down into the chat box, and that will give you an opportunity for us to interact with you as well as we go through the presentation. But a little bit about me anyway, so just give you a context of why hopefully I should be in the best position to talk about this subject. I'm a scientist by training, but also I have a number of businesses here and in the US, around healthcare businesses in the UK. And over my career, I've been involved in creating 9 patents, and I think the important aspect to mention about patents is those patents are really there to move the business closer and to engage more with clients, and so they have real application. They're not sort of some hairy-fairy patents. All the patents in that I've been involved with, I've been focused on terms of creating different ways in which customers can engage with the businesses that I've been involved with as well. So just give you a flavor of that as well. A little bit about me in terms of some of the things I do in my spare time. You may have seen maybe over here, a little sign here for basketball. I own a basketball club. And yes, I'm very proud about it, but I think for me, it's about how business can make a real difference to communities and to nations globally as well. And I think sometimes we do not understand the impact that we can have on building cohesive communities. And I'm just really delighted to be involved with Maidstone Warriors. It's now the largest basketball club in our region in the UK. It's been going for 20 odd years. And I have a fantastic team that allows me to travel around in my business, but also allows them to work on that club over a period of time and creating the next generation of leaders. Those who know sport in terms of not only in terms of just the skill elements, but we're providing leadership aspects to helping kids to be the people that they need to be, especially teenagers growing up into young men and young women. Oh, and also I'll share a little bit about this a little later on, but over here you can probably see I've got the book here, our new book. I wrote it in the middle of the pandemic, and it's really just to help companies to really understand those principles of growing the business and be sustainable over a long period of time. So a little bit about me. Hopefully that gives you some idea of my background and hopefully the value I can bring to the presentation today. Like I said, so much to go through. We're going to be talking about the case for innovation in your business. I mean, it's obvious, but ultimately, it's really the game changer in the growth of businesses that we've seen and we can talk about as well. And then we'll look at some examples of innovation as well, and how those things have really demonstrated those companies, and from those who have not as well. And then we take a look at sort of the products and process innovation, and really understand that innovation is not about just creating new products. It's about how you can develop services and process improvements. All those things are maybe give you the opportunity to add value and be a demonstrable presence with your customers to allow you to have that additional value, and more importantly, take that additional market share for those opportunities. So like I said, it's an opportunity for you to look at not innovation from a product perspective, but think of it holistically from a service and process perspective. And then we'll look at the sort of operational manufacturing innovation elements. And then we'll look at intellectual property. And that's a whole umbrella term talking about patents, trademark, design, copywriting, that sort of stuff as well. And how, again, that can give you that additional value and an opportunity to be market leading in those areas within your business. And then we just touch on digital innovation and the means of how things have changed in terms of the understanding of data and understanding of how we can utilize data to really help us to give us a lead in the marketplace. And then talk about, at the same time, innovation collaborations. Not many of us have the monies to be able to do some real groundbreaking stuff. But you know what? If we ally ourselves with partners who can do that, potentially we can get a lead by doing it together rather than by doing it by ourselves. And no sales conference will go amiss without me giving you a special offer and giving you an opportunity to buy something of value. And hopefully the offer that we have, including the book, let me put the book again, including the book, will hopefully give you an opportunity to engage a little bit more and understand some of the principles that we've used practically to help companies to 10x their business. So lots to go through, and hopefully, like I said, get a pen and paper, put some questions down in the chat, just engage with us. We'd love to ensure that, you get as much value as you can from this presentation. And, I want to start with this, but not me talking, but somebody else who you probably know and appreciate, the late Steve Jobs. And he says this: innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. Let me say that again. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. So my question to you today is, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a leader or a follower? Because you can't be both. You have to be one or the other. And when you think about, how businesses really use innovation to grow, we take it for granted that the automotive sector constantly creates new models, new cars every year. Imagine if the Ford stayed with their Model T Ford, many years ago and still selling it today. They would be out of business. And it's just really, why do we take for granted that the products and services that we have needs to stay the same? And therefore, what I'm trying to say is that it's important to create this culture of innovation within the organization, which allows you to continually improve yourself, your products, your services, the way that you treat your customers and engage with your customers over a period of time, because that provides sustainability. If you don't change, you will die. And it's really, really important, a question to ask yourself: are you a leader? Even now, are you the leader or are you the follower? And it's an opportunity now to say, okay, let me change the game now for my business. I want to be the leader. So those are the things that I want to really impress on you as we go through the presentation as well. Some of the key things that we talk about when we talk to our clients about, engaging in innovation, it's certainly around these, what we call the 5W model that we really go through with our clients. And we started this one at the very top. You may sort of see it at the very top, and it says, as reviewing, why do you exist? What is the customer pain? And that's really important, because none of us in our business have a right to exist as a business. And I'll prove that to you in a little while, because ultimately, why do people come to you? Why do people buy from you? Clearly, because you meet a need, you meet a problem that somebody has, and they feel that you're the best person to help them to solve that problem. And that's why it's really important that you get close to your customers, because if that changes or somebody else provides a better solution to that customer need, before you know it, you're out the door and you don't have a business. So we really try to help people to articulate what makes them unique, what makes them different, what makes their product or services such that somebody else will want to buy that because they are meeting the needs on an ongoing basis. And once you've really able to define that, you have a business, you have something which is different and unique to the marketplace. And that allows you to take that and to package it up in what we call the value proposition. In other words, we articulate what makes us different, what gives us value to the client, And then we ensure that everything in our organization articulates why we are different, why we are unique. But most businesses don't do this. And if you look at the final bit, they do not review the performance across the business and with their clients on a regular basis. And that's super important, folks, because if you're not close to your customers, like I said before, you will not then meet their needs, and therefore you will fail to exist as a business, and therefore you will go and die. And when we look at, how companies are and how they behave, and I'll make no mistake in talking about some key clients and some key organizations where they fail to do this. And these are examples here: Kodak, Blockbuster, 3M, really big in their heyday, multi-billion-pound businesses, and two of those didn't take the knitting in relation to understanding and keeping close to their customers. One of them did. And it just demonstrated how innovation distinguishes those companies who are sustainable and growth from those who are not. And so, let's just talk about Kodak first of all. And the thing about Kodak is that, as you know, Kodak was the darling of the marketplace, of the stock market, certainly the NASDAQ, in terms of understanding what it is to develop, products, cameras. Their big raison d'etre was about film and processing film, etc. And that was really, really important as well. And as a result of that, they continue to develop and grow manufacturing plants all over the world. But a number of things happened. In fact, they in research and developed, and this will just freak some of you out, the first patent for digital photography. And within the organization, there was a paper that presented to the board, and they basically said, look, we believe that digital is going to be a big issue going forward. I think we need to be investing in this and developing capabilities in our manufacturing around this. But as you can appreciate, if you've got assets, £100 million worth of manufacturing assets geared towards creating cameras, creating film, etc., what do you think they're thinking of? Oh my gosh, we can't do this. So they mothballed the digital patents as such. And you know what? The rest is history. They've lost that. They didn't keep close to their customers. They were wedded to the strategy. And the thing about it, you can change your strategy. You can change it. And even though they did some pilot ideas, they didn't take it on board. And so, some key lessons here, folks. You got key lessons. Don't be wedded to the strategy. Pilot some ideas as well. Even Kodak did it, but they just didn't listen. And the rest is history going forward, and hubris. They thought that, this was going to continue to go on. They were able to do this. But, they failed to understand the trajectory and what was going to happen in the marketplace. And they lost their standing as a key player in that marketplace, even though they had the assets, the patent to be able to drive and to continue market share in that area as well. So again, massive lesson, how even somebody who is as innovative as Kodak can lose sight and, more importantly, cause demise of their business. The other aspect is Blockbuster, the infamous Blockbuster. And I think, there was some, as you all know, Netflix approached them and said, we're happy. We want to sell. We're struggling a little bit, but happy to sell that for $50 million. The then CEO of Blockbuster, laughed and kicked him out of the room. And then, as you well know, what happened later. So again, it's about sometimes, again, you have such a strategy in your head that, this is our infrastructure is around, videos, CDs, games, etc. and had no concept that the infrastructure around streaming, about broadband development and infrastructure, could completely take the rug out of the sail, or the wind out of their sails in relation to their business strategy and growth. And I think, they say that again, another lesson: create that flexible strategy. You need to just keep your hand in, or your how can I put it, your feet in the water, even though you may feel that it may not respond in 5 or 10 years time. But when you are ready, you're able to take on to this situation and change tact, change strategic intent immediately to do that. An example of that was obviously in the automotive industry, as we all know. If you look at every single automotive manufacturer, they're setting strategic plans to electrification of their vehicles, complete turnaround within 10 years. All of them. Because they know if they don't, they are bust as an organization. So, even though they've got hundreds and hundreds of £1 million of assets that are going to be confined to the dustbin, people who are not engaged in understanding that technology have to retrain tens of thousands of people to be able to cope with the new ways of manufacturing, the new ways of doing business. But it's important that you have that dual element going on all the time. You're able to take the opportunity to move your business down as well, but at the same time, your new opportunities, your new products, your new services are gaining traction in this element. So in the lessons here, don't feel that you're the only kid in town who's able to provide that service. Somebody else can kick your butt at any time. That's really important. And sometimes we want to knock our competitors rather than focusing our time on our competitors, and have that flexible strategy going forward. The third organization which had the culture inbuilt is 3M. And we talked about how 3M has been exemplar in creating a company that spans so many markets of innovations. They're so ahead of their time, from adhesives for commercial application, sticky Scotch tape, as you well know, post-it notes, respiratory products in medical applications, military technologies, unbreakable ad displays, and, as we know in COVID, N95 masks. Remember the N95 masks debacle that we've been having globally to protect against COVID? They have continuously demonstrated the power of innovation to create business success and growth. And you know what? Even though sometimes that we sometimes don't appreciate, but like I said before, those companies that have innovation, their margins typically are 30% higher than their competitors. And as you can see with the 3M example here, innovation margins have been an average 51% over 20 years. They have a culture of measuring innovation where 15% of their sales are derived from new products launched within 3 years. Madness, crazy. But that's the culture. They're focused around innovation. They're saying we want to continue to innovate, continually push things forward, because we know that's going to sustain the business going forward. And the freedom and the flexibility in the culture to break things. And I'll get to that point later on in my presentation, because it's a really strong principle about creating that culture in the organization. And the way that they work with their teams is that ideas are considered like mini businesses, business ideas, like mini startups. And that allows the freedom for people to say to their teams, etc., let me work on that for a small period of time. I think they have, I'm not quite sure if it's so prescriptive now, but before they used to have 15% of all developers' time working on new ideas, new things that are not part of the strategic direction going forward. So again, giving the flexibility for people to come up with new ideas, new ways of actually doing things as well. Super important, creating that culture going forward. And a lot of you will know this curve, not because we've seen this curve, but in terms of your own experience in the sales element of products. Because invariably, everybody and every salesman likes to have a new shiny thing to sell. Why? Because it just makes it an opportunity for you to present something to a customer. That's one aspect. And secondly, if it's really good, it's easy to sell, really easy to sell. because you can sell the value and the features and benefits going forward. But this is a typical product life cycle that you see. And as you can see here on one axis, you've got the sales of that particular product or service, and the y-axis is you've got the introduction, growth, maturity, so the period of time that the product is experienced or service experienced over a period of time. And you can see, you know, when the introduction, not a lot of sales, and then you get this hockey stick effect where you got some really good growth coming through. And then the maturity element, this yellow phase coming through, you can see in the graph here. And that's where the fun happens, in the sense of it's not fun for the business. You get a lot of competition coming, people copying, knocking off similar products. And then during that phase, you are getting a lot of pressure. And invariably, most of the time, your margins are reduced because you're fighting off competitors who are coming up with either better products or similar products at lower costs in the marketplace, and your margins are squeezed. The good margins that you got before, because you were the only one in the marketplace, is now being attacked. And as a result of that, you can see that. And then obviously, if you don't do anything, you get that decline over a period of time because somebody else is coming out with something better and more cost effective, and probably even cheaper in terms of or cost effective or better value or better quality, etc. And that's where, in that blue bit, is where sometimes you get that revival of products. You know, you got that new this and new that, or new model car, new model. All they're trying to do is just stimulate sales and try and add as much value as they can on the existing product. But in essence, the decline is going to happen regardless of that product extension. But over time, it will, again, that product extension will decline over a period of time. And so again, it just shows how it's so important to have innovation as a culture, because what you need to be doing, you need to superimpose the new product coming up so that when that maturity starts happening, your new product comes through. Or that product extension could be defined as a new product. That new product takes on and continues the growth of that product over a period of time. And you've got this constant development of new products over a period of time. And if I still haven't convinced you about the power of innovation, you need to look at this slide. You need to look at this slide, right? Because each of the big 4 technology companies, they fear innovation. They fear those who are coming up with something better than them. They fear it. And if you look at the amount of acquisitions that the big 4 for technology companies have done, in other words, they are buying up businesses, not only either to add to their existing capability, or to shut them down. You think, well, why would they do that? Well, like I said, it's similar to the Kodak scenario. They want to, they think in their head strategically that if they buy that particular activity or technology, then it won't threaten their existing technology, or they can integrate their technology into the business. And look at Google, 241 acquisitions. Combined, those top 4 companies, 530 acquisitions between them. So if there's anything about the power of innovation, it's that. And if you certainly want to sell your company, that's a great way to do it. Make it such that it makes it different or better than the existing big companies, because likely they're going to come and want to buy you out. So coming back to this culture of breaking things. You see, innovation is not about just creating a new product. It's about anything that is new to the customer to enhance their experience. And examples including replacing business processes, you know, those processes that are aligned to the customer. It's no point putting an expensive system, and many people do that, putting a new Salesforce system, a new ERP system, and they find that the customer can't interact with the business. They can't finance stuff, or they can't invoice things, or whatever it is. You've got to create processes and systems that are focused on enhancing the customer experience of your business. I cannot make it any plain anymore. And if that's not your business, then you need to get it right. because other people may be doing it better than you. And you see, ultimately, as you can see here on the slide here, by adding value to existing products or services, you differentiate yourself from your competitors. And also, you may, as Elon Musk has done with Tesla, he's foreseen the environmental issues because of what was happening in California, the need for electrification, creation of vehicles, the rest is history. And now that's now translated globally. And with the business now, you probably heard it recently, valued at $1 trillion. I mean, that's madness. They only sell 1% of cars globally, 1%. But yet their business is worth more than General Motors or Ford. It's just madness. But it just demonstrates the power of innovation in relation to, creating that enhancement of customer experience of product or service as well. As Jeff Bezos says, when you probably remember Amazon when they first started off in 1994, they were an online repository for buying books, but they've continued to innovate, from a online bookstore to what they are today. It's incredible. And he says this, there's no other way but to reinvent. The only sustainable advantage you can have over others is agility. That's it. Because nothing else is sustainable. Everything else you create, someone else will replicate. It's very true. Someone else will replicate. But you've got to have that agility to continue to reinvent yourself, to have innovation in the blood of the organization, because ultimately that is a way to keep businesses sustainable. I just want to touch on really briefly, quick detour, talk about intellectual property. And this is an important asset element in your business that it not only enhances the value of the business if you want to sell it, but it protects your brand and the products worldwide if you so wish. And we could talk about different things. We could talk about the way that products are trademarks and Kodak, Blockbuster, and 3M. Recognizable logos, recognizable brand. Even if they are blurred, you can spot them, you can see them, etc. And I think that's really, really important to appreciate. And obviously, patents that we all know and love in relation to how products can protect themselves, and you get that long-term protection. Nobody else can create something similar if your product is patented. So immediately you have a 10, 15-year march on organizations and customers, and that's why people like Dyson were incredibly effective, because they stole a march on the marketplace for bagless vacuum cleaners. And their patents were able to protect their lead and, more importantly, protect their margin. So they were able to get a higher value of product for a longer period of time until their competitors started to catch up. And you had some attrition, but again, they just created some new patents, some different things. Now all their products are now electrified in terms of they are cordless. And all those sorts of things that they're developing, or taking their technology to washroom facilities, industrial facilities, hair drying facilities, that range extension, using the basic core technology and the patents to operate around different verticals as they move forward as well. So I just want to take a break in the sense of wanting you to take a moment just to reflect on lots of things that we've talked about, and we've still got some 15 minutes to go, but I want you to ask yourself these questions as before we go into the next phases, and take time to identify the areas of your business that could do with innovating. And clearly, think about patents, think about obviously copyright, think about trademarks as well. But think about it's not about products as well. What about the services? What about the way that you do things? Can you do things better with those customers? Can you invoice them better? I spoke to one client and they were having problems getting their money collected effectively. I said to them, why don't you send a different envelope with a red letter in the envelope with your invoice? Oh, what are you talking about? Because when they open it, what's going to stand out on their desk? The red letter. So ultimately, it's just being a bit more creative. That's all about innovation as well. And then once you've made that list of those things that you think need innovating, you can do that now as well, or little bit later when we finish the presentation. Prioritize what will give you the biggest return if addressed. That's really important, because ultimately it's the investment. It is an investment. It's an investment of time, an investment of money and resources. You've got to use that wisely. You've only got certain limited amount of things to do. And then create that draft plan to innovate the product, service, or process going forward as well. Okay, again, put some stuff in the chat. Lovely to answer any questions that you have about some of the things that we talked about in the presentation so far. So let's talk to the final section that we want to talk about. Is about digital innovation. And I just want to talk about, again, the importance of digital innovation and the means of maintaining our focus on customers and on their need as well, because business has changed rapidly. 20 years ago, clearly, Amazon was in its infancy. Dial-up was the rave with its squeaky sounds when you tried, and Zoom was the idea of a nappy of a Californian, teenager. But today, the internet and the Internet of Things is a well-worn term. We have AI, we have Zoom, we have the dominance of Amazon gobbling up everything around it, and which has obviously led to a crisis in our offline retail high streets around the world. So the lesson is if you do not adapt, you do not innovate, you will die or potentially die as a business going forward as well. And I think the important aspect as well is the power of data. Without exception, data is the latest currency of business. It's the one thing that's going to distinguish those companies when they analyze the data from those who do really well from those who do not. Because ultimately it allows you to forecast trends in real time, faster than any time that we've had before. The online capabilities of you understanding customer engagement, as well as their behavior and habits, what products they like to do and what they don't do, it's just incredible. And you have that opportunity in real time to be able to do that. And even artificial intelligence, we look to automate important tasks, and machine learning, which is the subset of artificial intelligence, which allows you to start to really get to grips of not only how people behave, but how can we predict what they're going to behave and do next. Those sort of capabilities are coming through very, very strongly. And in some of my healthcare businesses, we're adopting deep learning, machine learning as part of our capabilities and really understanding the needs of how patients run their healthcare business, healthcare needs over a period of time as well. So really, it's important to understand the data that you have available within your systems and to analyze that to allow you to be really close to your customers, understand trends, understand needs in real time. And the elements as well is about, about technologies as well, where again, as we talked about before, you got the Cambridge Analytical scandal with Facebook. So, we're not only storing massive data, but again, holding on to that data and the need for protection, securitization of those data, having cybersecurity systems in place to protect that data. All those things are becoming more and more prevalent. And, we've seen a lot of the so-called, hacks, ransomware type, attacks, dark web infiltration to, our businesses, on an ongoing basis. And I have clients left, right, and center have been spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on correcting things that have been hacked into and their data being exposed to outside sources as well. So, it's really, really tough, for us as businesses, but we've got to be constant about it because more and more people realize that having data is really, really valuable. Keeping track of our businesses in real time is super important. And if anybody attacks that, the whole system fails. And more importantly, our business potentially has a point of failure and could fail catastrophically as well. The final thing I want to really talk about is about the subject of innovation collaborations. And What I mean by that is that, we need to be aware of leveraging the skills and the expertise of others to achieve our goals. And that may be that, we could partner up with a university. We could partner up with organizations who are built around helping us to create new ideas and new products. And I appreciate there may be some cost involved. A lot of countries have research and development type funds, which are small business funds or other funds, which allows you to facilitate that. So again, be cognizant of those things. Be aware of those things. Really, really important that you need to have that as well going forward as well. So, it's really important. So it's quite funny, in fact, because, remember Apple had a big hoo-ha with its Maps application, and it was and one big story where a particular map took this guy into a particular desert, and he was stuck there for a couple of days. So, massive PR disaster for Apple. But, they swallowed their pride, and they hooked up with Google to ensure that they were able to, have their products integrated within Apple. Massive competitors, of course, but they ensured that the agreements allowed them to be able to do that because they realized, they can have that bum fight with Google all the time about competitors, but if their customers are suffering over here and somebody else has got a better product, you know what? Swallow your pride, get the better product, and ensure that your customers maintain and stay with you rather than going to Google. And so, it's that really good strategic thinking that they were able to embrace going forward as well. So collaboration, universities, or with competitors, it's really important as well going forward. I just want to share, again, a true case study as well. I was working on the board of a company, Petrotechnic. They got bought out by Franklin Fuels. Soon after, we created a sea-changing innovation in the organization. 6 patents were created, and it just meant that, as a small organization at the time, the next question was, well, how can we bring these patents into commercialized and the commercialized environment? And so we worked very closely with one of the suppliers that was supplying products for us. And these guys, a £2 billion operation, way, way, way bigger, 100 times bigger than Petrotechnic. But because we had the patent, because they saw that our patent was going to be a groundbreaker for the marketplace, we were able to have that leverage, even though we're a small organization, to be able to work with them and say, okay, under license, let's develop this product, let's ensure, and then obviously knowing they would know that because of our patent protection, they would have a big long tenure in relation to that product into other markets as well. And as a result of that, we were able to develop a new range and with them, and the rest is history. The business exploded 5 times. The business got bought out by Franklin Fuels sort of 5 or 6 years later. So it demonstrates that, even if you have a small idea, don't think it's insignificant. It could be the game changer that catapults your business from what you are today to where you really, really want to go. And one that you may be familiar with, again, in terms of service collaborations, an example here is Ocado. They do a lot of work over here in the UK with some of the big supermarkets. And again, same principles. Waitrose, the big supermarket, did not have a delivery arm to deliver products to consumers or to customers. And as a result of that, rather than develop their own capabilities and invest and take time to do it, which would have taken them 2 or 3 years, they just partner with Ocado to do that. And very efficient, and the rest is history for them and that going forward as well. So appreciate at the same time, you've got to make sure the culture fits, the values fit. And as you can see with Waitrose and Ocado, those who are aficionados of business case studies, there was certainly in the end of their relationship, a lot of tension around that as well. So, you've got to be really careful because whoever represents you has to have their values associated with what you're trying to do as well. If they don't, then the reputation comes back on you in terms of poor delivery, poor service, that sort of thing as well. So really important to understand those elements going forward as well. And it could be, again, an example of a sort of TNT. I did work with when I was working with a big building products business called Carradon in the sort of late 90s as well. I was working with one of the guys on the board to, come up with an outsourcing. In fact, it was about $4 million outsourcing deal with TNT. Again, take it away, the capability, they could do it better. We focus on manufacturing and sales as well. And these guys did delivery. And again, you can get some incredible innovation because they came up with new ways, systems of making sure that we had top-notch delivery experiences with our customers going forward. So again, do not be afraid to think of your back office, whether it's on the finance side, whether it's on the administration side, or other aspects. Again, what you're trying to achieve, strategically what you're trying to achieve, you're trying to ensure that your customer experience with you is always top-notch. And if there's a weakness area and you can't sort it out internally to clarify and to fix that issue, then think about the potential for outsourcing it and ensuring that you get that same capability and keep that same service that you really want for your customers. So final actions for you, and it's about what areas of your business needs transforming digitally. It's not difficult, what they are. The same principle: create the plan, prioritize, and execute the plan as well. But again, like I said, the objective is what needs to be transformed digitally to meet the needs of your customers, to enhance, to delight the customers going forward as well. And again, there may be some other partners that you might want to do, but do some homework, do some due diligence, find out from other people how those partners are before you consider collaborate with them, see what their reputation is in the marketplace. And the beauty about all these trust pilots and different review mechanisms now, it makes it really, really easy to understand the power of how these guys are servicing existing customers before you engage that reputation by collaborating with them as well. So understand, do your due diligence, pick to evaluate, and ensure that the culture and values that they have lines up a little bit with what you're trying to do as well. So hope that's helped. If you want to know more clearly, we have a number of products and assets that we can do for you, and I just want to go through that if you don't mind. There's a few minutes as well, because it wouldn't be a sales conference if I give you the opportunity to have some of these things available to help you in growing your business. So on the top there, we have the 10 Commandments of Business Growth book. Like I said, we had that. That's available not only on Amazon, on Kindle version, but also on Audible. You hear my dulcet tones coming through on the Audible version. And so, be great for you to avail yourself of that if you so wish. But it can be free if you just wait a little while. Just wait a little while. And then we do give. I appreciate some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much here. I can't see the wood for the trees in terms of how it could be applicable to my business. Please, happy to have that chat. We have a 3-hour, 1-hour business growth session. And then on those who really have the opportunity to take the time, listen in the car, look on video, we have an online business growth strategy and execution course. And I want to share that with you as well, because I think that could be a really valuable about it. So again, the new book, as we said, that's available for you, 10 Commandments of Business Growth. We have the 3 1-hour business coaching session, as you see here. And the online course, the business growth strategy and execution course. And you know what? For you lovely people, there's a 10% discount today. So I just want to share what that looks like in terms of cost and value, because ultimately, if you go to the website and you get it for as it is without the discount, it's going to cost you just over $2,300. Our coaching, typically, we were charging clients over $4,000, $5,000 for these experiences because they know, they see the benefit of it. And obviously, if you go to the Amazon site, you can get, the books or the Kindle version, whatever, for less than $18 as well. But we want to give you all that with the discount, over $6,500 worth of products that are going to really enhance your business for just over $2,000 as well. And you think, well, yeah, that's a lot of money as well. But hey, it's about the investment, guys. Where do you want to see your business? If I said to you, I was going to give you $2,000, and after that, your business will grow 50-fold on the back of that, you'll be biting my hand off for that. So again, we need to change our thinking in relation to investment and return as well, and that's the important thing. And give you an example, real people. You can look these guys up, and they've worked with us, and they've certainly, Andy has seen massive difference. Their business, when we got involved with them, was around $2 million. It is now $15 million over that period of time. And it's just again, just helping people to really see the wood from the trees. We're not telling people how to run their business, that's really important, but we're helping to facilitate the thinking around it, to identify the opportunities, the golden nuggets in people's businesses that allows them to grow their business successfully going forward. And Dan has another company in his business, Creation, incredible. With a product that is groundbreaking. Nobody else in the market has it. Again, that's a power of innovation, to really just package something that nobody else has in the marketplace. And that's enabled them to be the top organization. And they have the top 10 farmers as customers. That's incredible. All the pharmaceutical companies, top 10 pharmaceutical companies are clients of these guys as well. So it just demonstrates that, you put in innovation practices, those things in place, the opportunities for growth is just exponential as well. So as I said to you before, we would love to offer you this with your discount as well, 10% discount for $2,000. That includes your online course, it includes your free session, and it includes the book. Now, all that stuff is for free within this $2,100 type activity. But you know what? I appreciate, things are, sometimes difficult for a few of you, and I want to make it easy for you to take, get the benefit of this offer. So again, happy again to do, $4,450 over the 5 months as a means of just smoothing out your cash flow over that period of time as well. And there's no point really doing this, really, 15-day money guarantee, because nobody's taking that offer up, because that's how much value there is in what you're getting, because people are seeing the opportunity that is to move their business forward aggressively, utilizing some of these assets that they have. So I hope that you take advantage of that offer. Love to talk to you. We'll still be around to answer any questions in the chat. But please reach out. Email me. See some more of those assets on our Linktree connection as well, or just book a slot on the Calendly as well. But more importantly, really would like you to avail yourself of the offer, because ultimately that is the one. Remember to use the discount code, because that's going to allow you to get the discounts that you require. Rather than paying the full amount, you get the discount there as well. But I hope this has helped, guys. Please, you've got to get innovation as a key crux of your organization. And I hope that this little presentation has stimulated your thinking around that. Thank you very much.